Every Monday, at exactly 8 in the morning, an 82-year-old man named Frank Delgado would walk into Sonny's diner, wearing a worn cowboy hat and leaning on a wooden cane. He'd take the same seat, at the same table, and order the same thing: black coffee, buttered toast, and scrambled eggs. Then, he'd pull out a small brown leather notebook and begin to write. He wrote only names, column after column, page after page. No one knew why. The waitresses had their theories, the regulars made their guesses. But Frank never said a word. He just wrote, his face a mask of quiet concentration. Until one day, a new waitress, a college student named Emily, couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer. "Are you writing a book, Mr. Delgado?" she asked, her voice gentle. Frank looked up, his eyes weary but kind. "In a way," he replied with a faint smile. "I'm writing stories." Emily leaned in, intrigued. "Really? What are they about?" Frank paused, his gaze drifting towards the window before settling back on her. "They're about men who aren't here anymore," he said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "but who deserve to exist somewhere." That was the day everything began to change. Emily didn't press him for more, but from then on, a quiet understanding grew between them. She'd bring his coffee without him asking and linger nearby, watching the old man fill his notebook with a steady, deliberate hand. She felt she was witnessing something sacred, a private ritual that held a weight she couldn't yet comprehend. This wasn't just a habit, it was a mission, and she was determined to understand it. To understand Frank's ritual, you have to go back to a time and place he rarely spoke of: Vietnam. Between 1966 and 1969, he was just 23, a combat medic. His job was to patch up the wounded, to save lives in a world built on taking them. He was good at it, but the chaos was relentless. He remembered the constant, deafening chop of helicopter blades, the terrifying whistle of incoming shells, and the desperate cries of young men calling for their mothers, or for him. But more than anything, he remembered the smells of damp earth, gunpowder, sweat, and fear. When Frank finally came home to Texas, the war followed him. It haunted his dreams and echoed in the quiet moments of his day. He tried working in a civilian hospital, but the beeping machines and sterile hallways transported him right back to a field hospital under siege. The invisible wounds, the ones no one could see, hurt the most. So, he left medicine behind and opened a small carpentry shop, finding solace in the scent of sawdust and the precision of his tools. He built a life, a good one. He married his sweetheart, raised 2 children, and became a doting grandfather. But every year on March 29th, National Vietnam Veterans Day, he'd retreat to his porch with his coffee and that little brown notebook, and he'd write down the names. After his beloved wife passed away, the silence in their home became a crushing weight. The memories grew louder, the ghosts of the past more insistent. That's when he started his weekly pilgrimage to Sonny's diner. The hum of the cafe, the clatter of plates, the friendly chatter, it was just enough noise to keep the silence at bay, and writing the names there, in a place full of life, felt like an act of defiance. Slowly, over many Mondays, a friendship blossomed between the old veteran and the young waitress. It started with small talk: the weather, the spurs, the local gossip. But gradually, Frank began to share pieces of himself, fragments of the story he'd held inside for 50 years. "You know, not everyone who comes home really makes it all the way back," he said one morning, his eyes fixed on the traffic outside. Emily sat across from him, her own coffee growing cold. "What do you mean, Mr. Delgado?" He tapped the cover of his notebook. "It means a part of you gets left behind. Over there, with the ones who didn't get to come home at all." He opened the book, showing her the pages filled with names. "I write their names so they can come home with me, so they can sit here, in this diner, even just for a little while." Emily's heart ached for him, for the burden he carried so quietly. Then, an idea sparked. "What if," she began, her voice full of excitement, "what if we typed all these names into a computer? We could create a proper list, maybe even send it to a veterans museum. That way, more people could know about them. Their stories wouldn't just live in this notebook." Frank stared at her, a look of profound surprise and tenderness on his face. For a moment, he seemed speechless. "I never thought," he finally managed, his voice thick with emotion, "I never thought anyone else would care." Emily reached across the table and placed her hand over his. "I care, Mr. Delgado," she said, her voice firm, "and I think a lot of other people would too." And so, their project began. For the next several weeks, every Monday became a working session. Frank would read the names aloud, one by one, and with each name came a story. He told her about Smiley Rodriguez, who could make anyone laugh, even in the darkest moments. He remembered Doc Evans, who always shared his rations, and young Private Miller, who dreamed of opening a garage back in Ohio. As Emily typed, she realized she wasn't just compiling a list of soldiers. She was documenting a brotherhood, a family of young men with inside jokes, shared fears, and unfinished dreams. The notebook wasn't just a record of loss. It was a testament to love. When the owner of Sonny's Diner, a younger veteran who had served in the Gulf War, heard about their project, he was deeply moved. He took their printed list, had it professionally framed, and mounted it on the main wall of the diner. Beneath it, he placed a simple brass plaque that read, "In honor of those who served, those who fell, and those who still remember." The story spread through the small Texas town like wildfire. Soon, other veterans started showing up at the diner on Monday mornings. Some would pull up a chair at Frank's table, sharing a nod and a comfortable silence. Others would simply sit nearby, nursing their own coffees, finding a quiet solidarity in the presence of the old medic and his list. The Monday Café had become something more. It was a sanctuary, a place of remembrance. Frank Delgado, the man who thought his story didn't matter, had become the quiet, unassuming heart of a community he never knew he needed. Then came a cold Monday in December. 8 o'clock came and went. Then 9. Frank didn't show up. Emily kept his table ready, the coffee hot, but his chair remained empty. A knot of worry tightened in her stomach. Later that afternoon, the call came. Frank had passed away peacefully in his sleep, sitting in his favorite armchair. Resting on his chest was the little brown notebook. When Emily was asked to help gather his things, she found it, open to the very last page. In a shaky but determined hand, Frank had written a final message. Don't cry for what we lost. Smile for what we still protect. Memory. The entire town turned out for his funeral. As a final goodbye, Emily slipped the notebook into his casket, leaving it open to that last, powerful page. The story of Frank Delgado and his Monday ritual didn't end there, though. It lives on at Sonny's Diner. To this day, every Monday morning, one table is kept empty. On it sits a steaming cup of black coffee, a fresh, open notebook, and a small, reserved sign. It reads, "Reserved for Mr. Delgado and all those who still live in our memories." Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that honor the quiet heroes among us. We'll see you next time.